It's the SKOR North Twins Show.
Baseball!
All right, SKOR North Twins Show. What a day. What a day. We get to learn who the 8-9 other roster players are going to be on the active roster at some point today. I do know Edward Julian's coming up, so Julian is one of those names.
Okay. Have they announced any of these, or is this like a Dex exclusive here?
They have not. I just heard Julian's for sure one of those guys that's coming. At the time of this recording, 9:15 a.m. Central Time, I believe the Twins' active roster is 17 players.
Did you guys look?
So
yeah, I was going to say, if you went on
problem.
twinsbaseball.com last night and looked at the roster, it was hilarious.
Because they were they were trying to remove people from the website.
Well, and they were all gone by the time I got there. 3 outfielders, though.
Mm-hmm.
And like 8 pitchers, 7 pitchers.
And then they've got their like social media graphics department trying to keep up with they put out these graphics that are like, thank you C4, thank you. I don't think they hit all of them. I think we snubbed a few of the. I don't think we thanked everyone.
Harrison Bader got snubbed, which to me is outrage.
You gotta thank Harrison Bader has been one of your best players.
If you're a show pony, you get thanked.
You should. You would think. You'd think you at least get like a social media goodbye.
I'm curious if there's a huge mural. Like if you take the escalators up from the main floor, there's a huge mural on the second floor of C4 and Buxton.
Oh boy,
I wonder if that's going to be painted over here in the night. I mean, they're not back there for another week. They got time.
Right.
Kind of awkward. It's like when UND went from the Sioux to the Fighting Hawks, and their arena was strategically placed with Sioux all over the arena.
Yeah. They literally had like a Sioux logo on the back of every single seat.
At the Ralph,
yeah. He was not about to have that. In fact, he at once threatened it as they were building that building. He threatened. He said, "If you change the name now, I'm going to abandon the project, and it will be nothing but tumbleweeds and like half a building."
Which is also all of Grand Forks outside of that building.
Wow.
So yeah, there's your Grand Forks update too.
Hey, I got a quick question.
Yeah.
I got a quick question. Is it inappropriate that when we got done last night and you looked at the magnitude of these trades that my first thought was The Departed? When the elevator gets down, but it's like guns, and it's not, now it's more sensitive and it's really not funny. It's death. But the first thing I thought of was either in Goodfellas, where there's the scene of they just start to take out all of the guys involved with the Lufthansa heist, or when the elevator gets down and they all shoot each other.
Dude,
that's the first thing that came to mind.
We got done just behind the curtain here, so we jumped on for the emergency. Why did we initially jump on? Because Correa was getting traded.
Correa was traded.
That's why we jumped on, right? And we probably figured it'd be like a 20, 30-minute emergency episode, and then we'll wrap like an hour and a half before the deadline. And then if they do something else big, maybe Dex will come back on, or so. It wound up being just a 2-hour live stream reacting to 40% of the team getting traded. And I think it felt like we left all the takes on the floor, at least for those 2 hours. It was a really fun, good show, crazy show. And it's funny how I feel like Judd and I are morphing into the same human. Like the older I get, Judd and I are becoming more similar. 5 minutes after we got done, I was like, damn it. I should have made the Departed reference. Like it was the baseball Departed. The elevator opens up on the top floor, and it's Leo DiCaprio and I guess Matt Damon. Was he the other one up there?
Yeah. And it gets down and it opens up, and
Louis Varland, Danny Coulomb,
Griffin Jacks. Oh, it's crazy.
I have a bunch of feedback Friday for you guys. Yeah,
let's do it.
I'll throw stuff out, and by the way, another shout out. Declan's been leading this SKOR North Twins Show, the YouTube channel, for 2 years now. We started this YouTube channel at the beginning of the 2024 season because of the fan interest coming out of the 2023 season. We're like, this is great. Let's launch a new community here for Twins fans. Let's revive the SKOR North Twins Show. Declan's going to lead this thing. And then the Twins didn't cooperate very much over those couple seasons. But I think yesterday it was very noticeable, even if it was mostly just like fans kind of raging and looking for a place to. There are a bunch of Twins fans stranded, waiting for this team to serve them something that makes them feel like they care. And so yesterday was the biggest day in the history of the SKOR North Twins Show and YouTube channel. So shout out to Declan for leading this whole thing. Shout out to you guys, the audience. And if you haven't clicked that like button and the subscribe button yet, we're almost is it 6,000 subs almost here on this YouTube channel?
there. So if you want takes on Carson McCusker's swing breakdown, we're gonna be all in it here in the next 7 weeks to wrap up the regular season. This ain't slowing down. I mean, I would prefer not to have 40% roster turnover every single year, but we are gonna see and learn some faces here together on the SKOR North Twins Show.
Let's start with JT Muraski here. And by the way, we're going to do more of these Twins Show Feedback Fridays. I think this is the first one we've done all year here, but we'll mix in some of these throughout. But JT Muraski sends this note in via the SKOR North app. There's a feedback tab. You can send us emails. After listening to the whole deadline show yesterday, I still don't know what to feel. I know the right thing to do in that moment was to sell, but this hurts and it feels like such a low point in recent Twins history. When you sell almost half the roster for a lot of teenage kids, I have a hard time seeing the plan in the near term. These new prospects are years away from being ready, if they ever will be. The bullpen has to be completely rebuilt. Our few star remaining players are probably questioning why they're still here. And looking at the Twins' social media pages and the fan interaction, there's going to be historically low attendance for home games the rest of the season. What is our realistic path to relevance? Is there a historical comp to what we can look for? Has a team ever sold this much at the deadline? I'm a diehard Twins fan, but I'm having a really hard time finding anything to root for in the next 2 to 4 years. From JT.
Okay, I'll go back to what I said on yesterday's show, which is if the poll ads weren't selling and this was their mandate, then I think it's just depression. I think you just bail. Like, it's just done. But the fact that the team is going to be sold, fingers crossed at some point in time. So I think this is an evolution in a process. And can we just quickly also break down what they did yesterday? Because I feel like there's only talk about the salary dump, which, by the way, is a very fair thing to talk about. But I don't think we're appreciating who was traded. Like, I feel like we're talking about a bunch of guys that fans loved, and quite frankly, if you did, it was time to fall out of love with quite a few of those guys. So my biggest surprise, as far as I didn't expect him to be traded because I wouldn't have traded him myself, was Varland. Jackson Duran, I certainly understand if you said, why didn't you keep one? Okay. But Carlos Correa was not working out. And there's a very key quote that he gave to MLB.com that I don't think we have paid enough homage to. He's basically now saying, I was looking to move to third base.
Yeah.
The second he goes to third base, think about his value. Because he was signed in part to, yes, to be a bat, no question about it. But he was also signed to that contract in part to be one of the best shortstops in MLB. And he wasn't that now, in my opinion. He had declined there. I'm not saying he was bad, but I am saying he wasn't the same guy. Mm-hmm. But if his end game was to get to third base, like if that's what he wanted, if he went to Falvey and said, really, you know what, by 2026, I'd like to be a third baseman. I don't want him. Like, Royce plays third base. He's a declining player. He turned 31. I think he's going to turn 32 in September, guys. And he basically turned 45. So I do think we need to have a conversation about, yes, that was a tough day. I get all that. But I think we need to have a conversation about who was departed, who was dispatched.
Yeah.
Because I'm not objecting like this. They watched this team that they built, and we can also talk about their fault there. I mean, Derek Falvey does not get off. I'm not giving him kudos. But what I am saying is he built a team that didn't work. And a lot of what he dispatched, I don't have a big problem with.
I think there's like a micro conversation about at the deadline, based on where they're at, did they make the right or wrong moves here? And I'll drill down on that in a second. And then there's like the macro of how and why did we get here in the first place conversation that kind of layers everything.
Correct.
But based on where they were in that moment, trade deadline week, I think there's 3 bins of players that they traded. They traded 10 rostered players and then 11. People are like, don't leave out Dobnak. Well, Dobnak, I don't even think he's on the 4. He's not on the 40 man, right? It's not on the 26, not on the 40 man. They essentially, because he has a team option for like $6 million next year and other team options. It's a $1 million buyout to say goodbye. It's essentially, hey, somebody else, please, Tigers, pick up the $1 million tab to say goodbye to Randy Dobnak. So anyways, so he's in like a fourth bin. But there are the expiring contract players on a team that's not going to the playoffs, right? Harrison Bader, is Danny Coulomb expiring? No, he's got some team control left. Willie Castro would be in that bin for sure. Chris Paddock is in that bin. If you can get anything for those guys, non-playoff team, expiring contracts, okay. You trade those guys. No brainer, right? Then there's bin number 2, which is really good relievers with multiple years of team control left. Well, I would put in that bin, I would put Coulomb and Brock Stewart, who are both like mid-30s. Brock Stewart has never pitched more than like 30 or 35 innings in a season. Mm-hmm. So he's in his 30s. He's never healthy. It took forever to get his physical cleared, it sounds like, yesterday. So, okay, you're going to move those guys. Just get something for them. That's fine. But in the other part of that second bin, this is where you start to debate it, right? Duran, 2.5 years. You had Varland with like 4 years of team control, 27 years old. Griffin Jacks, the oldest of the bunch, 30, 2.5 years of team control. Those are all awesome relievers. And Varland has been, no fluke, really good this year. I think we kind of figured maybe Varland's going to be, are they going to trade these two dudes and Varland's the closer? And now you're building that up for the next few years? So I think that's where you can start to nitpick. Did you need to trade those 3 guys now? Did you get enough value for them? Does this signal that you don't think you're going to be good at all in the next like 2 or 3 years? Because you're wiping out 2, 3, 4 years of team control here. And then there's the Carlos Correa bin, which is very complicated because if you think he's going to be really good for the duration of the contract, then this is a terrible trade. You literally traded him for, it's like a 27-year-old high A bust second rounder that might be out of baseball. It's possible he's out of baseball like this winter. And so it's a pure salary dump on Carlos Correa. And if he has gas left in the tank, and if he goes off for the next couple of years in Houston, this is going to look really, really bad. But there's a chance that he is 31 going on 50 with his body, and you've just bailed at the exact right time, and you're free from it, and now you open up some previously clogged lanes for Brooks Lee to play shortstop and Keyshaw to get in the starting lineup. So, like, in the micro, there's a bunch of different classifications here of what they did yesterday, I think.
Yeah. So with the Varland trade and with the Jacks trade, it was on a conference call with Falvey and reporters yesterday, and Falvey said on those 2 trades specifically, they were deals they felt they couldn't pass up. And you have to also remember, in the Varland one here, let's put also just aside for just a little bit, relievers' value are always going to be at its peak on trade deadline day as opposed to the offseason, every single time. Every single time. You have known commodity teams that are in contention for playoff spots and World Series contention. So those guys' value will never be higher at any other point in the season or the offseason. And I think the Varland one is confusing because it's, almost 5 years of control, and you're basically punting on that guy. And I will say the Twins have done a pretty decent job at, as much as where's the pitching factory, they have developed relievers. They've either identified relievers, they have converted failed starters into relievers. They've done a really good job of that. And this team in particular, I think this was kind of my big point yesterday, has been going essentially running against a wall for 4 of the last 5 years. The same core. So I think you had to shake things up. On the Correa front, I find it very bizarre that a guy who is pretty much an open book to the media and isn't afraid to tell reporters that he's an assistant GM. Falvey even made a joke about that. Like, I know Correa likes to joke that, like, he's assistant GM, blah, blah, blah. And then he's going to MLB.com saying, yeah, I've been telling them for 2 years I wanted to play third base. And that never came up from Carlos. Like, there are certainly discussions between players and manager and front office that will not be unearthed to the media unless, you do your job as a reporter and you dig and you find. I find it shocking that he never unearthed that to anyone until yesterday.
Well, but Carlos is calculated. Like, that doesn't surprise me. That doesn't make him look good. I mean, basically, if he says that out loud and it gets out, like, if he tells you guys, hey, you know what? I am getting older. I'm going to move to third base. Royce Lewis is sitting right there. Like Carlos is going to make damn sure that Carlos looks good. That's my thing about why I think this whole Correa as sort of a captain is fraudulent. Like today, the Athletic has a great story on the Correa trade and how it went down, and it's pretty clear that Ken Rosenthal, who wrote the story with Dan Hayes, and Ken, I think, has been in the Correa sports camp for a long time. He's got a big thing about what we talked about yesterday, which was what was the meeting about? Like when Jax and Correa went in to talk to Rocco. And I know that Jax was mad. Well, Carlos painted this as, I told Griffin we should go in. I'll go with you and we'll talk to Rocco about this. Like we shouldn't have this festering. And
meanwhile, his agent's been back channeling the
right.
Houston Astros for 2 weeks, right?
So Carlos is, and you know what? I mean, color me shocked. Another guy who thinks he's the leader of the organization, who's going to frame things his way. But the reality of this, too, you guys, it's to me, it's simple. The Carlos Correa experiment ended, and we didn't talk about it. You didn't think about it much. It ended the day that the poll ad said, Joe said, we're going to trim payroll.
Yeah, we're going to sign this dude for $36 million a year, go to the playoffs, win a playoff series. He's going to hit 400 in the playoffs, and we're good.
Yeah, and now we're going to chop him off. It was like
they won the World Series and it was mission accomplished or something. Yeah.
Don't kid. That's exactly right.
Well, and to that point, so just to get out to the macro of this, like how did we get here? I think one of the things that I find really fascinating about what happened yesterday is in the Derek Falvey era, and there's a lot of poll ad influence in the parameters that Falvey has to operate within. But in the Falvey era, going back to 2017, the Twins have had like 6 trade deadlines where they've either been bona fide playoff contenders or World Series contenders. They had some really good teams in a couple of those years, 2019. So probably 6 times in the Derek Falvey era where they go into the deadline and they are clear buyers with a chance to do damage in October if they get the right piece or two, right? And they were aggressive once as buyers in those 6 opportunities. But then the minute that they encounter an opportunity as sellers here, it's like everyone's gone. It's literally one of the most historic in terms of volume of players, salary dumps and fire sales in the history of Major League Baseball. The split second, dude, yesterday, Spotrac put this out. You talk about goodwill with the fans, showing fans, to get fans to show up to your ballpark, to be stewards of a Twins baseball community. Show them that you are pushing to win a championship. And every time they walked up to the deadline, minus 2022 as buyers, they're like, yeah, I don't know. Let's just kind of see what happens, right? Yeah. You know what the Padres did yesterday? The Padres who wildly outspend their market size and have never come close to winning a World Series while doing so the last few years. But fans reciprocate by putting 40 to 42,000 people in that stadium every single night because of days like yesterday. The Padres traded their number 1, number 3, number 4, 6, 7, 12, 13, 17, 26, and 29th ranked prospects and 3 other unranked prospects to add to this year's team for a chance to knock off the Dodgers and win a championship. I'm not suggesting that in the micro, the Twins should have been buyers yesterday. Right. But I'm saying in the 6 other opportunities they had to be buyers, never would they dare to do what the Padres did yesterday and just push a bunch of chips in to make, A, to try and win a World Series, and B, to show the fans, hey, we're all in this to get together to win big.
And lots of teams don't. Craig Breslow in Boston again absolutely crapped the bed.
Yeah, tried to get Joe Ryan. Fox Sports thought he did a great job, actually.
He tried to get him, and it turns out he offered butt kiss, though. It's what are you doing? But anyway, can I throw out a Zolgadian conspiracy theory about this entire thing? Because there are, I think it was in the Star Tribune, Phil Miller's story today, referenced the fact that this sort of came from the poll ads. And not surprising, okay. But let's dig down there. Do you guys think there's any chance? Because, this was a bloodletting. Do you guys think that there's a chance that the new owner is set up and said, just strip it down? And Falvey's like, I want to keep my job. Okay, I'll strip it down.
That we want just way fewer albatross contracts.
If I'm going to buy the team, I got to be honest. I don't want the Correa contract. And
Okay,
like
but the Correa contract, agreed. Like that, I don't want that. If I'm buying the team, I'm like, get that off my books. I don't want to pay for that the next few years. And then the expiring guys makes total sense. Louis Varland is a league minimum player.
Yeah, no, that the Varland one, I can't. In my head, I can't work that one out. Like Griffin Jack's getting older, certainly a volatile personality. Like there's some things there possibly. Duran, I mean, I would have been fine keeping. The Varland one, I cannot understand. I'm just saying, when you move this many people, it feels like there's other things at work that we're not seeing the picture clearly, and I'm just trying to figure out what that might be.
Very different circumstances, but you got to remember the two biggest contracts that this front office has given out in franchise history, by the way, Josh Donaldson and Carlos Correa, were ripped up and thrown to someone else halfway through both. Halfway through, both of them. Now, the Donaldson case, they took on the money, and like I don't think anyone was that upset that they parted with clearly a declining and also a pain in the ass in Josh Donaldson. These are two very different circumstances. And then with Correa, this is, I think, a little bit of a strange situation, but they have punted on both of those contracts.
But those guys are both similar in that they both came in with major injury red flags. Like the 7 different calf strains for Josh Donaldson. Didn't he have some back issues? I feel like
calf strains were the big one. You're right.
Yeah, and then Correa with the foot and ankle stuff, and so they knew that they were signing really good players when healthy, but had major injury red flags. And Donaldson was like, I think like 34 years old when they signed him to that contract, or 33. So he was even getting just toward the back end of his prime. And I don't know that this is going to be the ownership and front office that has to make these decisions in a year from now or 2 years from now. There's probably going to be a lot more changes higher up. But you don't want those failures to prevent you from being aggressive in trades and in free agency. You're going to whiff on some of those. But continuing to be aggressive, dude, the Padres have whiffed on a lot of moves. And they're still going to win like 90 games this year. And they develop prospects so that they can trade them out. And they're wheeling and dealing, and they find a way. The Mariners have whiffed on moves. The Mariners are just wheeling and dealing every year for 10 years, making big trades. Nate Bohawk chimes in here and says, I'm going to send this in this is an unofficial, write that down. He thinks Carlos is going to rake for the duration of his contract in Houston. No more double plays, no more half-assing it. He'll be back to an all-star level in Houston. Do you think so? If that happens, this is going to be one of the worst trades in Twins history.
No, I don't. I think that he might play well when he plays. I think he's going to continue to break down.
I would probably lean toward that.
And by the way, those double plays, I know they look bad, but they were not half-assing it. He cannot run. Like he is this close to being late career David Ortiz as far as trying to get out of the box. Like, it's bad.
Just power walk it down there, Jim Thome style.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, yeah. And so I don't think Correa was half-assing things. I think that's how he moves now, and which is why I believe that the advanced metrics at shortstop told a very interesting story that the traditional stats didn't tell. Like the advanced stats at shortstop said he's declining.
Yeah. And
to me, you can't ignore that. And now I wanted to move to third base. Phil, what does that do? So the second, and I know that third base is a more premium position than first base, for instance, but the second he moves from short to third, what happens to like the perception of value from an analytic standpoint?
His the positional value of his wins above replacement number would go down. So it's kind of like the way the sausage is made with wins above replacement. By just playing center field and shortstop and catcher and some of the more premium positions, you start with a higher WAR base than if you are a DH and you're adding no value as a fielder or like a right fielder or a first baseman. Third base is kind of, it goes in terms of value. If you're a catcher, shortstop, center fielder, and you play those at a high level, boom, your value is off the charts. Third base, second base are kind of tucked in there next, and then you get the corner spots. There's a bunch more feedback here, but Dex, does Element Hotel even have any vacancies? Because they're going to have to probably house a lot of new Twins players the next few weeks.
Yes, they are. Yeah. Element Hotel, scorenorth.com/element. You know, I'm sure Mike Herman is working overtime right now, getting guys housed and figure out where to live. But if you need a spot, Mike, or if you need any of those parents or anyone else who's looking to watch their son make their major league debut, go to Element Hotel. Maybe you have stumbled upon this podcast. Scorenorth.com/element for a 15% room rate. It is just steps away from Target Field. It's a great spot in the North Loop, too, so if you're looking for a night out or a little staycation, you can do that as well. SKORNorth.com/element.
Just buzz through some of these just to get people's voices heard here. Jesse Peterson said, guys, I love listening to the show, but I have to say this. What the Twins ownership did during the trade deadline is an absolute joke, and not a single fan in Minnesota is laughing. They gutted their roster, which they should have done right after the playoffs in 2023 if they're going to. They turned this franchise into a complete disgrace. If this is their idea of a future by turning the team into a Ponzi scheme, maybe it's time to talk about contracting the team altogether, because clearly they don't care about winning, the fans, or even the game itself. This is a slap in the face to everyone who's ever believed in this team. It's sickening to watch. I'll keep going here. There's a lot of, I feel like fans were very apathetic increasingly the last 2 years, and now it's just like back to rage, at least for a 72-hour period here. Justin R says, you guys have gone on about how the Twins squandered fan interest after 2023. I am curious, though, what would you have done differently after 2023? Re-sign Sonny Gray? Are you signing Shohei Ohtani? Baseball is very difficult when you don't have a payroll like the Dodgers or Yankees. And let's face it, Minnesota, a fairly mediocre market for baseball. Just look at the attendance numbers the last 20 years. You care to rebuttal Justin R?
Well, we explained this yesterday. What you do is, first of all, you don't slash payroll. Now, perhaps you don't bring Gray back. I don't know on that. I mean, that's an example of what you could have done, and he was certainly effective. But let's say you don't. That doesn't mean that his payroll slot has to disappear, which it did. What you also do is you pivot to a streaming service. I believe the deal was up at that point. Instead of going back to FanDuel, which, by the way, or at the time Bally's, which, by the way, led to the disaster of your only good baseball last year was off Comcast because Bally's had a fall, or Diamond Sports at the time. Like, we explained this. It's not, baseball's hard, but it's not impossible. And by the way, common sense business decisions, like the Twins literally saved, $30 million and probably cost themselves millions more by their short-sighted decisions to not capitalize. And the streaming thing's incredibly important because the streaming thing would have immediately provided that young fan base that you seem to sort of capture the fancy of with an outlet to watch your games on a phone, which might sound stupid to people my age, but it's not stupid. So look, there's always the Dodgers and Ohtani. I'm not saying that. No one's saying that. But what we are saying is we just came up here with some very easy business decisions of, short-term hurt sucks, but long-term gain is awesome. The Twins decided to exchange those two things.
Now, they didn't buy yesterday, and I know some people are saying they're one of the bigger losers of the trade deadline. The Milwaukee Brewers have made the playoffs in all but one season since 2018. They have figured out ways to not have a crazy high payroll. They have made huge splash trades. They've said goodbye to core pieces like Josh Hader or Corbin Burns. Doesn't matter because they churn out the next big player, right? There are certainly ways to not be the Yankees and Dodgers and still find ways to remain competitive and to keep. Dude, Milwaukee right now is just absolutely buzzing. It's insane seeing what they're able to do. So, yes, there are lessons to be had. I don't know if it was just as simple as bringing back Sonny Gray, but the morale standpoint and from a PR standpoint, they completely neutered. I kept using the word nuke yesterday, and I'm still using it today with the roster. But they neutered a fan base by those decisions, and they just continued to chop them up.
Yeah, well, Justin, all due respect, but like if your answer to the last 2 years is like, well, what are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to? Well, let's start with the Sonny Gray thing. Maybe Sonny Gray, because he was aging, maybe Sonny Gray wasn't the right use of $30 million, or I think it was like $27 million, or Actually, it was a 3-year, $75 million deal. So it wound up being $25 million for Sonny Gray, and then maybe some leftover for somebody else. If it was aging Sonny Gray, your rotation would have been better. I don't think he was ever going to replicate the season he had his last year in Minnesota. But if it was just Sonny Gray coming back, your team would have been better in 2024. I have no doubt. And probably makes the playoffs because you came within like a game or two at the end, your meltdown in September, right? You could have also pumped the $25-30 million into another player via free agency or players, or gotten creative by trading from your prospect pool for a player with a year or two of team control left that costs money. There's so many different ways you could have gotten creative. Or, I know this is going to be shocking, you could have spent beyond the $30 million that you cut. You could have added to the payroll, and then by showing the fans, this is where the PR aspect comes in. By showing the fans, hey, we are all in. We love this. We just won our first playoff series in 20 years. Let's ride. If we have to lose money in the short term, let's do it for the city. Hey, you guys, we're going to take a loss on this. Show up to the ballpark, right? But they don't, as an organization, speak to fans that way. You have the owner coming out and talking about right-sizing the business immediately after this, buzz-killing everything. So, Justin, like, there's a million different things that they could or couldn't have done. But I think it's pretty clear that they chose some of the worst possible options from a personnel and on-field standpoint and from a PR standpoint. Robbie B chimes in and says, Falvey said in a post-deadline interview that fans will love all the guys that they got. Do you think it's logistically possible to have scouted all of the players that came back in return for these 11 Twins that went out? Can Derek Falvey even name all the players that I made this point on Twitter yesterday? How could they, unless they were doing groundwork for like a month, stealth behind the scenes, and they knew that here's a list of like 100 different prospects that we have deeply scouted as players, as people, everything. How could you trade 10 players in 24 hours and know what you're getting back? Mm-hmm. Outside of like just peripherally, like, oh yeah, we had a scout see that guy, 2 months ago, an area scout in the Midwest or something, right? It feels very haphazard to make 10 trades and trade 11 players in 24 hours and know exactly the caliber player and person that you're getting back in these deals.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot of trust with your scouting team and your GM and your assistant GM. And to be honest, like, this is, and it's to answer his question, but like, that's true of almost any trades that are happening, especially if you're sellers. Like, it's hard to really get a true gauge of. It's one thing if you can focus on, hey, I want to go get a Suarez, right? Like, I know what it is. I know exactly he's a big power hitter. Bingo, bango. I know that guy will fit into the lineup and make my Seattle Mariners better. But when you're sellers, I do think it's difficult, and there's always a risk there. So yeah, it's tough. I'm curious on guys like Taj Bradley, on Abel. I think it's worth seeing what you have because the current core of your roster really wasn't going anywhere. So I'm curious what they have. He said Bradley is one of the most exciting young pitchers in baseball. Bradley's 24 years old. There is something there, I think. I will say his ERA plus has been under 100 in 67 starts in his big league career.
It's below average for the
which is below 100 being average, and his career ERA plus is 87, so he has been a below average pitcher, but he's 24 and maybe they unearth something different. So we'll have to wait and see.
I'm curious about the 16-year-old kid, though. Did you see him play? Like there are some. I do like when it comes
for a 16-year-old.
They've played against a guy like James Ottman, who came from the Dodgers. The big league guys I totally get, but I am curious about. Yes, I wonder what the scouting was on like some of these guys, and I mean I'm sure in some cases they didn't have great scouting reports, but it's a very fair question.
It felt like, what was that show back in the day, Judd? Like Supermarket Sweep or whatever, where, all right, you've got 90 seconds. Here's a grocery cart, and they're just like pushing the cart down the aisle and just hook arming any groceries into their cart.
Give me that 16-year-old prospect. Yeah. I'll take one of those. Yeah.
Have you guys ever watched? I've only watched for the first time with my sister a couple weeks ago. Is It Cake? Have you guys dabbled in Is It Cake?
No.
Yeah. Once you start one episode, it's
most bizarre thing
Really?
I have ever seen, man.
the show is exactly what it says. The entire show is they give you a knife or somebody else has a knife, but
Yeah,
you have
like
to
the
you have to
host.
look at like a room or a setting or look at a table or something, and you have to decide from up close, is that a bowling ball or is it cake? Are those headphones or is it cake?
Is that
And then you make your guess.
Is that cake? And then the guy goes, and it's like a bunch of chefs, or bakers, I should say. Sorry, bakers, because it's not chefs, that are going in there and then like having an opportunity to like make an obscure, crazy cake. But it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts.
It's amazing. Who thinks of this stuff?
Is this a frontline pitcher?
Or is
it
it
bust?
cake?
Or is it cake?
Well, if it's the Twins, it's injured cake. Like, who thinks of this stuff, though? It's remarkable.
Well, they're looking for low budget. All these platforms are looking.
Right.
It's funny if you watch, like network TV in the summer is always good, but they literally ran on like ABC 3 hours of Love Island, or not Love Island. What's the other one? Bachelor in Paradise last week. They're just looking for
game shows
budget
are back with a vengeance.
Yeah, because they're low budget. By the way, Denard Span backs the Taj Bradley takes here that, and he's a Tampa guy, so he's gotten to know Taj Bradley. Denard tweeted, might be the overall wildest trade deadline I can remember, especially for Twins fans. I can't speak, though. I do like Taj Bradley coming to Minnesota. Spent some time around him in Tampa Bay. He's a good kid with a high ceiling. So maybe there is a little something beyond the performance he's put up. So he's just been kind of a number 5 starter type guy through 3 years in Tampa. Brian Darling chimes in here, Feedback Friday. Well, I'm just as shocked as you guys were yesterday. Now we need new owners and a new front office. We need new vision. If not, they will be tough to watch. Still hanging in there, but it's tough. Thanks for the great content.
Yes, agree completely on all of that. I think you have to. You know what? Even if it's not completely fair, I think when the poll ads go, it's guilt by association at that point too. Like, I think any remnant of the poll ads has to be cleaned out. So Falvey goes, Baldelli goes. You need to hit a reset. And look, I think they deserve it. I think they deserve to be fired as well. So I'm not saying that I think that they've done a good job, but I also just think that anything that reminds people of the poll ads as far as like what happened yesterday, you probably need to flush it and start again.
Well, from a fan and PR standpoint, it's going to be really hard to sell the current figureheads. I mean, the poll ads are on the way out, but like Falvey and Rocco, it's hard to sell that to people that are looking to buy tickets to entertainment events, right? I think an exercise would be for the new ownership, or maybe for just us on the show at some point. If you were Falvey or Rocco, how would you, in a court of baseball opinion, defend your position? Like, these are prestigious jobs. This is Major League Baseball. There's 30 teams. In theory, you're looking to hire one of the, at worst, 30 best heads of baseball operations and managers in the world. Ideally, you're looking to, if you want to actually win a championship, you're looking to hire one of the 10 best. What argument does Falvey and Rocco in his position have to be one of the 10 to 15 best in the world at what they do as a manager and a baseball ops guy, the head of baseball ops?
Yeah. It's definitely easier to probably blow out the manager too, right? Like it's just kind of, it's simple. On the Falvey side, I just said they nuked the 2 contracts. They've taken swings at times for like guys like Josh Donaldson and Carlos Correa. So there's been green lights to do that. They have traded and gotten Joe Ryan and Duran. They've identified a couple big prospects there, but I don't think they have a whole lot of things to hold up to say in the court of opinion or to a new ownership group of, wow, you guys are kicking ass here. Like, dude, do we really think if a new owner came in, whoever the heck this billionaire person is going to look at both of them and saying, you guys are top tier and some of the 5 to 10 best guys at your position? I don't think so. So it's going to be tough for them, I think, long term to survive.
Yeah, and I also think so. Falvey, if Falvey was a chef, he came here with a signature dish, right? It was
Piece of
called
cake.
pitching and starting pitching. That was a signature dish.
It's called pitching cacciatore, right?
Yes, pitching cacciatore. By the way, you can trade for it. That's fine, but like you start your ingredients from scratch. Like you make the best pitching from scratch because you learned in Cleveland how to do that. And I look now, and by the way, he is now a long time into his tenure. This is not small sample size alert, and he hasn't done it. They have not developed nearly enough pitching that they have drafted. And Joe Ryan, I know, was in the minor leagues, but he was pretty close to popping at that point in time too. Like you went out and got him. He's a really, really good pickup, but he was done by another chef, and you just sort of capitalized on it. I mean, Derek Falvey came here with the Cleveland pitching pipeline as his calling card. So I just don't think there's a. I don't think there's a case, you guys. I just don't think there's a case.
It's funny.
And that doesn't even touch on the fact that what Phil said is right too, which is just the bad PR of the stench of Derek Falvey that comes from the Pohlad stench.
Yeah. I actually think they've probably had more like bust stories on the position player side over the last 6 or 7 years. Will Bensing chimes in here. It's a couple more here, and we'll put a wrap on this. Plenty more next week. But Will Bensing says the past month you've talked about the failures of the Falvey regime, and I think it's time to talk about the entire Target Field era thus far has been a massive dumpster fire. Entering 2010, the first year of Target Field, the Twins were coming off 7 winning seasons and 5 division titles in the last 8 years of the Metrodome. During those seasons, they had players winning multiple MVPs, Cy Young Awards, batting titles, Gold Gloves. Going into 2010, they had a very competitive roster with multiple future Hall of Famers, 2 of the top 5 hitters in the league in Mauer and Morneau, one of the best managers in baseball, who had the respect of his players. Your often negative coworker Patrick Royce even wrote a column back in the day saying there was never a better time to be a Twins fan. Everything since the end of the 2010 regular season has been a massive failure. Joe Mauer only played in 2 playoff games at Target Field. After winning 5 division titles in the final 8 years of the Dome, they've won only 4 in 16 seasons at Target Field. And outside of 2017 and 19, they haven't had a team exceed expectations. They've played just as many. Joe Mauer played just as many playoff games at Target Field as Brian Dunsing started in Yankee Stadium. There's constant disappointment. There's a long list of prospects who have failed to live up to expectations. I think you get the message from Will here.
Will, that's awesome. You are 100% right. You know, the only thing that's sad about that, beyond the obvious ineptitude and garbage baseball that we've been forced to watch, is I wish now, just in retrospect, Terry Ryan had never come back the second time, because Terry Ryan the first time, this is a testament in part to how good he was. Like that Metrodome Terry Ryan teams and what he built. And you talk about like it's the blueprint. And I don't care how baseball's changed. It's the blueprint. Cultivating prospects, making some great trades, making trades in which it looks like you are giving up a big time player and you rob a team blind, Terry coming back unfortunately sullies that, because it's like, well, Terry Ryan 2 was just a disaster. But you look at that Metrodome stretch and what Terry did there and what Gardy did there, like it is impressive, but it's also a testament to how important it is for the most part to have homegrown players.
And you know what? Terry, there was periods where fans were mad at him for not being aggressive at trade deadlines and whatnot. But at the end of the day, Terry wore his heart on his sleeve publicly. Terry was like a real human that you could connect with and that fans could connect with. And he wasn't speaking in this sort of corporate double speak language all the time. I remember when the Twins had all those injuries in 2011, he came back for his second stint and there were so many medical issues. And he said, I am going to meet every single day with whatever media is here covering the team, so that if fans or media have any questions about injuries and our process here, I am here to answer them. And it just like he was, it didn't feel like you were just dealing with this corporate machine and this double speak, which is what you get oftentimes from Derek Falvey and the Pohlad family. It was a clear message being sent from the baseball ops guy, whether he was making great decisions or wrong decisions. And I will always respect him for that. Mark John 86, last one here. Would it not be hilarious if the Twins somehow went on a run and slid into a wild card spot after all this? What if Correa was just that toxic? And then getting some new personalities in the clubhouse changes things and flips the script completely.
Man, I mean,
non-zero.
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 And I believe Phil Miller put out the tweet. The Twins had an above 500 record when Correa didn't play.
Oh, there you go.
He did. They did. Yes.
So
yes, they did.
They're pissed off, man. And Falvey and Zoll they're probably there now, but they were going to fly to Cleveland to meet with the remaining players and Rocco in person and discuss what the hell happened yesterday.
As Falvey was detonating this roster, how many cups of coffee did Zoll go grab him, do we think? Jeremy, give me another cup of coffee here. I'm going to trade another guy. I'm going to trade I need more caffeine, Jeremy.
There was 10 guys traded. You got to make some phone calls here. You can't. Wasn't Derek making all of them? It was probably Jeremy.
Everyone was on the phone, Dex. Everyone was on the phone. I'm told the janitor at Target Field at one point was told, call the Phillies back.
We got one for Ty France. Ty France, we got it. Got a mop in his hand.
What about you, Sideburns? Should we trade Ty France?
All right, that's all I got for this Feedback Friday bin here, Dex.
All right. Hit the like button, subscribe button. You can follow me at Dex Tweets for any of the roster transactions which are bound to happen here. Plus, we got State of the Twins on Monday. Extra innings episodes, too, still pumping out. So SKOR North Twins Show, thank you to everyone who has supported the show this week. And we look forward to learning about the Twins for the rest of the season.